So guys, before we get started, don't forget we do have that amazing discount code thanks to Tier 0 Games going on right now. And all you have to do is put in ZWGames5 to get 5% discount on your total order at tier0games.com. The links will be in the description below. What's up YouTube, Darryl here from Z4 Games, bringing you my Valkyrie profile. Now, Valkyries, before we get onto those, please do hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you do not miss out on anything. I will also be bringing you an OTK combo at the end of this video as well to show you what the deck can do. Now the idea of Valkyries is that they just vomit themselves on the board. To balance that back out, what Konami have done is all of the Valkyries are not individually very strong. They all gain additional effects, stuff like reducing your opponent's attack, increasing their own attack, and additional effects like that in order to slow your opponent down and pretty much finish the game off. Now they were a TCG exclusive. When the OCG got their event pack of 2019, they did get a brand new Valkyrie monster. Unfortunately, it wasn't a Link monster because the one thing that the Valkyrie cards do state, or at least the mischief that gives you additional battle phase, is you have to control only Valkyrie monsters. So that's very, very difficult without a Link monster. So here's hoping that in the future we do get a Valkyrie Link monster. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the profile, show you exactly what we've got, and then show you the combo towards the end. So we start off with Free Schreiss. Now this is the main special summon of the deck. This is the one that pretty much gets everything going. So when she is special summoned, you get to special summon one Valkyrie monster from your deck except itself. Then during the main phase, you can mill your opponent of 2 cards from the top of their deck. Sometimes, especially in this meta right now with Orcus, it's not something you want to be doing. And she is a very, very bad normal summon because all you're going to be doing is setting the 2k and defending. But ideally, you want to be special summoning this out. And we do play 3 copies of Valhalla in order to do so, and of course the 1-1-for-1. Then moving on to the other lower level monsters that you actually play 3 of, we do play Free Droid. Now this is your 9 out of 10, this is a card and it is part of the combo that you special summon out of your deck with Schreiss. Now this one is, if it is normal or special summoned, you get to add 1 Valkyrie card from your deck to your hand. So that does mean you can search out their most powerful card, which is Ride of the Valkyries. So you search that card out, you then get to vomit your entire hand onto the board, and then it gains 200 attack for each of your opponent's banished monsters, which again, some of the effects of Valkyries actually encourage that. The other 3 of that we play is Free Verte. So Verte is, during the main phase, you can excavate the top card of your deck equal to the number of other Valkyries. Now that's the biggest disappointment, is it actually only counts the other Valkyries, not itself. And then you get to add it to your hand. So you get to add 1 excavated normal spell or trap to your hand. Also send the remaining cards to the graveyard. Shuffle the rest into the deck if you did not mill any. And when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you get to special summon 1 Valkyrie monster from your deck. So again, it lets you get to draw it, but also the idea of milling it is that you get, or resolving it, is you get to add some of the spells from your deck to your hand as well. Then for the last of the lower level monsters, we do play the 1 Valkyrie. So Valkyrie monsters you control gain 200 attack for each of your opponent's banished monsters. If you control a Valkyrie monster other than itself, you can send 1 spell and trap card from your deck to the graveyard and only use each effect once per turn. So you can see that there is actually cards in the deck that allow you to add spell and traps back from the graveyard. Some are continuous, some that specifically add back mischief, so it lets you have an additional battle phase. So it does act as a foolish barrel of goods for the deck. Moving on to the big boss monsters, we play 2 Ursty. Now, we'll probably play the new card when it comes out, and we'll probably bump this down to 1. But this card is, if it's special summoned from the hand by a spell effect, you can type 1 Mischief in your graveyard, add it to your hand, and if you control a Valkyrie monster other than this card, quick effect, you banish 1 monster your opponent controls, from your opponent's graveyard, then this card's attack becomes that banished monster's original attack until the end of this turn. So again, the quick effect banish is very, very nice. It doesn't act like a call by the grave, but if someone wants to try and revive something or move something from the grave, you can banish it instead. So that's very, very nice. And the revival of the Mischief is probably one of the better effects of the bigger boss monsters, because some of them, like with Erda, you can only control 1. So the reason we're playing this at 2 for now is when the new card comes out, we'll swap it out quite easily. We then play the 1's Right. So if this card is summoned, you target 1 monster your opponent controls and destroy it. After damage calculation, if this card battled, you can target 1 continuous spell card in your graveyard and add it to your hand. The one, Brewhealed, this is the other one you can play at 2 if you want to, but Brewhealed is unaffected by your opponent's spell effects, gains 500 attack for each monster your opponent controls, and when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can have this card lose exactly 1000 defense, and if you do, Valkyrie monsters cannot be destroyed by battle this turn, so it is a nice blanket protection. And then the most powerful boss monster that we currently have at the moment is Erda, and the worst thing about it is you can only control one Verda. So while you control this card, special summoned by the effect of a Valkyrie card, all face-up monsters your opponent controls lose 1000 attack, and then any card destroyed by battle or card effect that would be sent to the graveyard is banished instead. So it's a bit of a Dark Claw. Not to mention, you kind of need it to be that blanket reduction, just for your other monsters to be able to beat over it, because Erda at 2k is the most powerful main deck monster that you have. Then for other fairy cards, we do play triple Herald of Orange Light because all of our cards are fairies. And to get into Herald of Orange Light and of course some of our other lower levels, we do play the 2 Eva. So this can be Foolish Burial, but you do need to have the fairies in the graveyard to banish them in order to search out 2 more level 2 or lower. Once that's 10, you'll probably search out your Herald of Orange Light because it is a nice blanket monster negate quick effect. But regardless, Eva is a nice way of searching that out. Then for the spells, we play triple Pot of Extravagance. This deck does not rely on the extra deck as of right now. The dog clearly doesn't like Extravagance. Or maybe it's the postman, one of the two. So we play triple Extravagance. And obviously, like I said, it doesn't require on the extra deck. Right now, if you don't have Extravagances, but you've got everything else, you can put any free cards in here like an additional Ash Blossom. That's something that the deck is missing. I personally prefer Imperm at this moment in time, but Ash Blossom is just as good. I'm waiting to move off of Extravagance just to see if the dog goes quiet. So moving on, we've got triple Ride of the Valkyries. This card is insane. So you special summon any number of Valkyrie monsters with different names from your hand. If you special summon 3 or more monsters with this effect, you take no battle damage until the end of the next turn. Now obviously that is irrelevant if you use Mischief. During the end phase of this turn, you activate this card, shuffle all monsters you control into the deck. Now again, if you activate Mischief, you actually bypass the end phase. You do not have to shuffle those cards in. You can only activate 1 per turn. We've then got triple Valhalla, Hall of the Fallen. This is just to get, so as you saw, most of the monsters are high levels, and you struggle to special summon or struggle to get them onto the field. For Valhalla is very, very good. Alternatively with that, it does give you another ability to special summon the stress in order to special summon another one from your deck as well. Then we play double Final Light. This is just a nice little recurrence card. It is a bit risky because you're paying the life points. So you pay life points in multiples of 1000, then target one Valkyrie monster for every 1000 life points you paid, and with different names, and special summon them in the graveyard. You can't. Your opponent can special summon monsters with 2000 or less attack from their graveyard up to the same number of monsters that you special summoned. You can only activate 1 per turn. Now the idea of this is, when you play it, you're bringing back the one that pops a card, you're bringing back one that banishes from the graveyard, and you're bringing back Erda so that anything's destroyed is banished. So whatever you're bringing back, you're popping, destroying by battle or whatever, and they're all getting banished. Now it's not nice because you are just going, here you go opponent, have 3 cards back. But in the example of Orcust, if they're trying to build up their grave for the next turn and you play this, bringing back your Erda at least, and maybe another monster just to get rid of both of them, you're going to battle them and they're going to get banished. So they're actually going to lose the graveyard effect. So it's quite a nice little interaction, but it's not a nice card to have in time. And then finally we play the one Mischief. This just allows you to have an additional battle phase. So neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this, so it is a spell speed 4. It can't be activated as chain link 2 or higher. And then at the end of your battle phase, if all monsters you control are Valkyrie monsters, minimum 1, send this card to the graveyard. Also immediately after this effect resolves, skip to the start of the battle phase of the next turn. You cannot activate Mischief at the time goes until the end of that turn. So it basically means you can't go Mischief, Mischief, Mischief. Then for the other ones, we play the one Monster Reborn, the one Foolish Burial, the one 1/1/1, and a nice little spicy tech I like is Reasoning. We actually play a hell of a lot of levels. We play 1s, 2s, 3s, all the way up to 8s. Now the biggest negative of this is if you mill into a Herald of Orange Light or an Eva because you can't get rid of them. Unless your opponent destroys them by battle, of course. And it means your Mischief is then dead. But if you hit any of your other Valkyrie monsters, especially Strike, you get a special summon. You get an additional summon, you get your effects to go off, and you get to move from there. So that's a nice little touch. Tool Called by the Greys is not the end of the world if you do get Ash, which is why we're only playing 2. 3 can be a little bit cloggy because we are playing the OTK potential. The idea is with the Herald of Orange Light and impermanence. We have enough to disrupt our opponent during their turn, and then during our turn we have the Call by the Grace to protect ourselves in order to get the straight off to finish off the game and pretty much go into the full-on combo. So that's it for the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck, it is irrelevant. Unless you're going to be putting Super Poly in, and again, the issue with Super Poly is you do need to get rid of it if you want to go for your Mischief play. Super Poly is only, the extra deck is only there as Super Poly targets, Extravagance fodder, and then just additional extensions should you need to, because you can vomit your hand onto the board to extend plays further forward. So we start off with the BLS because we do have loads of high level monsters. We can actually make this a nice little beta. The Boral Sword, your Unchained Abomination, and your Crusadia Abramax. So these are your Link 4s and then your Link 3 of the Boral Sword, Buster Blade, BLS, sorry. And for other Link 4s, we've got the Unicorn, and then of course you've got your standard Phoenix and Cerberus. We then also play Lander for a generic Link 2, Lanvalinkus is a generic Link 2, Security Dragon as a nice little bounce effect as well, and then IP, because then if you make IP, you can actually go Link during your opponent's turn, go into your big BLS if you've got it, is one option. But it does require 3 monsters, so you would be sacrificing 4, but then to be able to make your BLS, can't be targeted, can't be destroyed by card effects. Like, you just absolutely have a beefy beta on board, and then you get to use the additional effects to boost it up, boost it up, boost it up, and it gives you another level of nice protection. You've then got your Predaplant, Dracus Tapelio, double of Zove, because just at this moment in time, a lot of people are trying to play around Super Poly, but they do leave their board open with a Dark and a Fusion, so Pendulums and Thunder Dragons, you can take full advantage of that. Starving Venom, and then your Violet Chimera. Now these can be adapted as you see fit for your current format, or what you feel you're going to be facing, whether you're going to take this to locals or a higher level of a competitive event, and adapt this as you see fit in order to give a bit more advantage to your overall plays. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the OTK combo of Valkyries. Now, there are a couple of different options that you can use to get into this OTK, but I'm just going to quickly show you the basic breakdown of what you need. So, back in a sec, guys. Okay, so for this OTK combo, you have a couple of options of getting into it. You've got the 1-for-1, which is your slimmest chance, but your most consistent chance in the servers. Not most consistent, but the most effective chance. And then you've got your Valhalla. Now, if you go with Valhalla, you do have to open up your Strive. If you don't get the Valhalla, then you just need to open up 3 of any other Valkyries, or at least a monster. Now, the way this kind of works is if you have more, considering this will be your opening hand or going second, you'd have 2 more cards. Now, if there are 2 more Valkyries, your OTK is going to be even more prominent. If they're not, it doesn't matter. We're going to do the base minimum, so we're actually going to put the Drake back, and we're going to put Brewhild in there. So we're going to activate the 1-for-1. We're going to put Urst to the graveyard. 1-for-1 is going to special summon out our Straight. Straight is then going to use her effect to special summon out your Drake. Now you want to put Drake into attack mode. You're then going to use Drake's effect to search out any Valkyrie cards. You get Ride of the Valkyries. You then get to play Ride of the Valkyries, summon down your Erda and your Brewhild. You then use the Ride of the Valkyries effect to banish that and summon out, search out your Mischief. Now this gives you 2 battle phases. Now the biggest issue with this right now is if your opponent's left you with an empty board, this is obviously going to be your OTK play, because you're sitting on exactly 4,800 right there. And that's if your opponent's got no banished monsters. If they do, then of course you're going to gain additional attack. It all then comes down to what your opponent has. Now what you've got to remember is Erda is reducing everything by 1,000. So the base attack that they can actually afford to take, or that they have to absorb, is 1,600. So if you have the ability to do more than, or not lose 1,600 worth of damage to your opponent in this play, then it's all good. Now the idea is, what you want to do is, if they haven't got anything banished already, is you want to attack with Erda, because then Erda or Brewhild, because Brewhild actually gets 500 for each monster they control, then it actually increases Drite's attack. So you want to be attacking with these 2 first if they've got monsters, and then you're going to go banish and banish. Drite will then go up by 200 as well, so Drite would actually be a base 400. So you're then going to be doing your damage that way. You're then going to play Mischief of the Time Goddess, get to do a second battle phase again. Brewhild would become a little bit weaker because they no longer have monsters. But you're going to be attacking, hopefully, by this point, directly, and indirectly, leaving them with very little on board. Now, moving on from there, if you have, like I said, you should technically have 2 more cards in hand to extend this play. Your opponent, everything that gets destroyed by Battle card effect is going to get banished with Erda on board. Brunhilde can actually protect all of these as well by losing 1,000 defense, which is not going to be the end of the world. And it means that they're going to keep on attacking as well. And then anything that keeps getting banished, Drake will go up on as well. And this is a continuous blanket effect, so everything they summon, it's not currently controlled, so it's everything they summon will be down 1,000. So in order for them to beat over Erda, they have to get something for 3k, or be able to spin it or destroy it. And then, of course, that is where Brunhilde comes in, because when they declare an attack, this has to lose 1,000 attack, and then they can't be destroyed by battle. So that's all it gives it additional protection. So anything that spins, bounces, or destroys by card effect will then get through your board. But the idea of this OTK play is that you're either OTKing your opponent, or you're banishing them and putting them at such a disadvantage that they can't actually recover. And that is why Kaijus can be quite effective in this deck as well, just because if you want to focus going second. Super Volley can be, but you then have to have the ability to Super Volley to break your opponent's board, then Dark Hole it, or some way to clear your board off in order to play Mischief to get an additional battle. Alternatively, you can start linking these away. So you could, if you wanted to, leave 2 of your big boys on board. And just check that we're not locked into Valkyries. I'm pretty sure we're not locked into Valkyrie, so what you would do is you could turn both of these, if you wanted to, for a bit more disruption, into an IP. There you go. Now that we've used the... so we're in our main phase 2 of our second turn because we've used Mischief. Then during your opponent's turn, you can use all 4 of these and go into a pretty much impenetrable BLS. Or, of course, you can go into, if you were to link these off, you could go into your Crusadia Avramax as well if you wanted to. Or... if you've got hand advantage, you can go to a unicorn and so on and so forth. So you just get a little bit more protection for your cards as well. So that is just a quick example of what Valkyries can do. And of course, the whole profile breakdown as well. Hopefully we get the new inclusion in Ignition Assault. And we'll be able to see what the deck can do with the brand new card as well. They do need a Link Monster, which I am very, very... excited for and waiting for, and hopefully we get that very, very soon as an announcement. So ironically, I know TCG exclusives and the OCG get cards before us, but unfortunately that's just the way the cookie crumbles in the world of Yu-Gi-Oh, because OCG do in fact get them first. So for now, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope the combo gave you a nice little introduction and a breakdown for exactly what this deck does. And until next time, guys, as always, happy dueling.